All right, let's get right into it. What we're looking at today is a real-time military crisis unfolding, a massive, complex search for a downed U.S. airman, and it's happening deep inside hostile territory.
So here's the situation. It's day 35 of a conflict, and right now, somewhere in the mountains of Iran, an American airman is missing. They're on the run trying to survive. This is ground zero for our entire story.
So, the big question is, how did we even get here? It all starts with the incident itself. A sudden, violent crisis in what the military calls contested airspace.
Okay, so let's lay out what we know for sure. An F-15E Strike Eagle, this one's from the 494th Fighter Squadron, it gets shot down over southwestern Iran. Now, the good news, U.S. Special Forces pulled off an incredible rescue and got the pilot out. The bad news, the other crew member, the weapons systems operator, is still out there, missing.
And just so we're all clear, the WSO, or WISO as they're often called, isn't just along for the ride. This officer is the brains behind the brawn, managing all the advanced weapons and sensors. They're an absolutely critical part of that two-person team, which makes finding them a massive priority.
So how does a state-of-the-art fighter jet get taken down like this?
Well, it wasn't some epic dogfight. It was an ambush. A perfect example of what's called asymmetric warfare.
What you've got here are two totally different ways of fighting. It's a clash of strategies. On one side, you have the U.S. Their whole game is about air superiority, using the most advanced tech to own the skies. But Iran knows they can't compete with that head-on, so they play a different game. They use proxy tactics, small, decentralized teams to create chaos and set up surprise ambushes when you least expect it.
And how do they pull that off? Well, a big part of the answer comes down to this number. It's estimated there are over 5,000 of one particular type of weapon scattered across the country. And this is it. MANPADS, Man-Portable Air Defense Systems. These things are an absolute nightmare for any pilot. They're shoulder-fired, they're incredibly hard to track, and you can have a tiny team hide out on a hillside and take a shot at a billion-dollar aircraft flying overhead.
And this quote from a pilot in the source material really nails the tactic. They don't switch anything on. There's no radar signal to detect. They just wait until you are directly overhead, and then they fire. It gives the aircrew practically zero warning. It's a really tough problem to solve, and it's terrifyingly effective.
But the second an American aircraft goes down, this enormous, incredibly complex rescue machine just roars to life. So let's take a look at the anatomy of that rescue mission.
The official name for it is CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue. And trust me, these are not simple pickup missions. They are some of the most dangerous, most complicated operations imaginable, involving a whole symphony of military assets all working together with one goal: leave no one behind.
And this CSAR playbook, it's just incredible to break down. First, you get another F-15E up there acting as the quarterback, the on-scene commander, running the entire show from the air. Then you've got the A-10 Warthogs coming in, just absolute beasts, providing close air support to take out any threats. Meanwhile, on the ground, your elite teams, think SEALs, pararescue, are moving in. And the grand finale? The HH-60G Pavehawk helicopters, flying right into the danger zone to make the pickup.
But this is deep in enemy territory, and things can and do go very wrong. During that very rescue attempt, one of the A-10s providing that critical air cover flew straight into a wall of ground fire.
So the A-10, as tough as it is, just took way too much damage from all that small arms fire. The pilot, incredibly, managed to fly the crippled jet out of Iran and over the water where he safely ejected. He was picked up almost immediately. But it just goes to show you how unbelievably dangerous these rescue missions are for everyone involved. So while all of this life and death action is happening on the ground and in the air, there's a whole other war being fought, and that's the war for information. As you'd expect, Iranian state media went into overdrive. They immediately started pushing this narrative of a massive victory, claiming they shot down not just one, but multiple U.S. jets. And of course, they started pushing out photos and videos as proof. But here's where it gets kind of wild. When you actually look at this evidence, it just completely falls apart. The pilot we're sourcing this from had a hilarious take on the supposed F-16 wreckage. He said the fire just looked wrong. Like, quote, it's almost like someone just went in there and made a little cooking fire. Not exactly a jet crash, right? And then you see the men posing with it. Oh man. The analysis points out how bizarre it all is. I mean, one guy has, and I'm quoting again, chicken legs if I've ever seen them before. The whole thing just looks off. The proportions are all wrong. It's almost funny if it weren't so serious. So the takeaway here is pretty clear.
This is classic information warfare in the 21st century. All the signs point to these photos and videos being AI-generated fakes. They're not meant to fool an expert. They're meant to be blasted out on social media for a quick, cheap propaganda win. And all of that brings us back to the reality on the ground. Because beyond all the propaganda and fake photos, there's a real life-or-death mission still going on. Right now, that missing WSO is falling back on years of intense SIR training. It stands for survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. Every single person who flies is put through this brutal course to prepare them for this exact nightmare scenario: how to survive alone on the run behind enemy lines. But the other side just raised the stakes in a huge way. The IRGC, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, has just put a price on the WSO's head: a $60,000 bounty. So what that means is they're offering that cash to any civilian who finds and turns in the American airmen. Think about that. It basically turns the entire local population into a potential search party, or worse, a threat. This makes the job of evading capture just impossibly harder. And that's where things stand right now. You've got an American pilot trained for this exact nightmare, hiding out in enemy territory. You've got a massive rescue operation throwing everything they have at getting them back. And now there's a bounty on their head, with the clock ticking louder every second. So the question that hangs over all of this is a heavy one. Can they get there in time?